here we go again. It's the 0-3 Renegades and the 0-3 Roughnecks in the Lone Star loser-off between Bob Stoops and C.J. Johnson. Listen, Stoops is favored by a field goal here. Total's at 46.5. Forecast for H-Town looking like 70, overcast, maybe a little bit of chance of rain. They have it at about 50%. Also some winds, 15 to 25 mile an hour. Somebody's got to win. Who's it going to be? We're going to tell you here. Got to lead this one off with the Renegades offense. I promise you, I'm not making up what I'm about to say. Renegades offense, top pass offense in the UFL, 238.3 yards per game. They have the most first downs converted through the air at 43. They're hitting 62.5% on third down, which, you guessed it, tops in the league. They even have the most two-point conversions. What in the name of Troy Aikman is going on out there? Why is this not translating to wins for this offense? It has to be turnovers, right? Wrong. Turnover margin, 0. They're not turning it over. So this offense is complete to me. Perez is tearing it up. Tyler Vaughn's absolute weapon against DC last week and in the championship game last year against them. Javonte Payton seems like he never has a defender within 10 yards of him. Seems like he just burns the defense on every route he runs. Such a reliable option for Perez. Sal Cannella, monster. Dude carried like 4 defenders, like 15 yards on his way out of bounds last week. And they even ran the ball. Arlington ran the ball. 130 on the ground for the tailbacks. That's unheard of for them. So, is there anything that can complete this offense when they've been so good on paper? Yes. And his name is Lindsey Scott Jr. Free him. Let him loose. It's time. You got nothing to lose here. You got absolutely nothing to lose going into this one. This is the perfect week. Luis Perez is hobbled. He's limited in practice with a left knee injury. Nobody on the Roughnecks defense can stop either of these quarterbacks. I mean, did you see what E.J. Perry did against Houston? He looked like Cam Newton out there, just tucking and running straight up the middle. The Houston defense is a sieve. And I'd take Arlington's offense all day, especially if they have like a dynamic playmaker like Lindsey Scott out there. Houston, worst in the league on third down. So thank me later, because this is the edge in this game. I don't know if I've been more confident on an edge this season. And I know we started out thinking, wow, Houston's defense, not bad. Got a guy like Reuben Foster, who could be one of the better players in the UFL. Have Chris Odom, who was the USFL Defensive Player of the Year. You know, they had, and they were stopping Memphis. You know, that almost led them to a comeback in week 1. They had some success defensively with Corn Elder taking a pick six back 99 yards against DC. But it completely unraveled. What was that for Houston last week? Giving up 34 points to one of the worst offenses in the league? I've lost all faith in that side of the ball after they started off decently enough in the first 2 weeks. They have some injury concerns. They had a player retire. And again, with this Arlington offense, they could not be stopped. They hit their first 8 third downs against DC. They have the weapons. I mean, think about if Letty Brown catches that ball on that 3rd and 5, they probably walk away with that game. What would the number be? How much are the odds makers looking at the number here and saying, wow, statistically, Arlington is not an 0-3 team. In fact, back-to-back plays, one against St. Louis, one against DC, where they probably would have been projected to win those games on paper in a statistical algorithm that takes into account these lines. So, I mean, you look at here, Marcus Sims absolutely torching the Roughnecks defense last week. That's going to be Javonte Payton. That's going to be Tyler Vaughn's yet again. So, and I'm not even sure we need to get into the other side of the ball here. I mean, Houston just seems to have an absolute dunce of an offense. I don't know what else to call it at this point. Arlington can't stop anybody defensively. So I think this is why you're seeing a higher total 46.5, you think 2 0-3 teams? Wow. But again, paying homage to Vegas and Orlando last year when it was winless teams. That game, I think, was like 68 combined points. So to me, if Houston gets rolling with Reed Sinnett, maybe they can keep up a little here. I mean, the Renegades secondary needs some desperate help. They're giving up 14.5 yards of completion. That's the worst in the league. They're giving up 27 points a game. That's the worst in the UFL. So I don't know. I was impressed with this front seven on paper coming into the season. They have not lived up to expectations. Kind of similar to DC. They had guys like Will Clark and Donald Payne back from this XFL title squad. They added Vic Beasley and Laurent Stokes. And I'm sitting here thinking this is going to be a dominant front seven in the preseason, but they can't stop the run. Jordan Ta'amu had a fairway to run down in week 3. I mean, there was nobody in sight, no spy, nothing. So that's going to pose a problem when you consider Roughneck's tailback Mark Thompson, who was last year's USFL Offensive Player of the Year, could be back. He's logging full practices this week. Charts in at 240. That's a big back. So he sprained his knee in camp. I don't know if Thompson's going to come in and set the world on fire. He's certainly not going to, convince me to pick Houston here. But I don't think he has an offensive line to run behind at this point. It's a mess for the Roughnecks. I think it's time for some fresh faces for C.J. Johnson and the staff, whether that be staff or players or support staff or whatever it is. Something's got to change. And I'll say it again. P.J. Walker ain't walking through that door, guys. So this is a Houston Gamblers team that has not been able to live up to that Roughneck standard so far. We'll see what the combination of Sinnett and Nolan Henderson can do. But Zook, Arlington is the pick, and it's comfortable for me here. I think they cover. I don't understand. I mean, this is your last chance, Renegades. I have never won a bet on this team. I truthfully don't think I've ever bet Renegades and won a bet. So maybe it's my fault, but I grabbed that 2.5 as soon as the books published it. And this number, frankly, is on drugs. This number should be 6.5. So what are we doing?
Arlington's too strong here.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters what quarterback they start. I'm still taking the -3.